What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Creatively Driven Podcast. My name is Josh McKenzie, and in this podcast, we talk about anything that inspires us creatively, be that through art, photography, videography. The world is really your oyster when it comes to creative outlets, I feel. And today we're going to talk about vehicles and really what got me into cars and kind of down the rabbit hole, honestly. And it started at a very young age. I want to say about 5, maybe coming back from kindergarten. I remember looking out the window, and on the bus, there was a house on a corner, and there was a little red three-wheeler, had a for sale sign on it. And I remember I was just excited. Like, I would see it I want to say it was there for a couple months maybe. And, I kept talking to Dad about it. And, I don't recall when exactly, but he ended up buying it for me. And it was, everything I wanted. And it started me off on quite a journey. So it was a 87 Honda 70cc ATC, as they call it, the all-terrain cycle. And it was a 4-speed, just straight 4 gears down, 4 back up to neutral. Just a pull start, like electric kill switch, but no reverse. It was just put it into neutral and they push it back with your feet, or go back at the handle, lift it up and put it back over to the side. And it was solid. I had that till I was 18, and it owed me nothing. I drove it to my first job, and I actually put a bike lock around the fork to a tree, and I was a dishwasher. And I came back out, took it off, and I loved it. I had no shame riding it, and that thing brought me immense joy over the years. And it was quite a thing. And I remember I was about 12 years old, 11 or 12, and my grandparents came up to visit us, and I took my grandma for a ride. And she wasn't terribly familiar with off-road vehicles, didn't really get into that kind of thing. But I remember taking her for a rip, and she was like, "Okay, Josh, you're going too fast. Let me off. So it definitely played its part. After the three-wheeler, I would say I probably got introduced to some games, and probably Mario Kart would kickstart things off, in was it 92 or something, I think, when the original one came out. And obviously games are going to be embedded in your head, but I think anything with racing I've always kind of been into. And that later on in life spawned into more, Forza Motorsports. Gran Turismo was probably my first racing game. And I got into that hard. That was where I first realized a Lamborghini Diablo was always one of the dream cars for me. It always just was something that really did it for me. And, didn't know anything about the cost of it at the time, but I knew that it was a gorgeous car to me. I wanted it. And then once I realized how much it was, I was like, okay, that's crazy. And I found a Nissan Skyline R34 GTR and Gran Turismo. This is before anything really was out there that I was aware of about the legacy of the Skylines. And I remember building that car in that game with Bayside blue paint, gold T37s or bronze, I'm sorry. And I loved it. Tuned the shit out of it and just fucking raced it because I loved it. And it was an amazing looking car to me. I guess the dream cars kind of started off with a Diablo, a Skyline, excuse me. And then I went to a Viper. I thought these were all cost efficient options from the Lamborghini. I mean, looking nowadays, they're crazy. But anyways, I digress. So after Gran Turismo, Forza Motorsports, Need for Speed, and anything like that really just kind of got me super tied into cars, and I could be there for hours just playing it, modifying the cars and whatnot. And it definitely really embedded a love for cars and just the interest of expressing oneself through your car. Even though I never really, had one that I specifically done up. I haven't had anything for a long period of time that I've had for a project car that's really been built up. So I got my first car when I was about 16, and it it was something that I was really looking forward to. And I bought a 95 Nissan 200 SX, little two-door coupe, not 200 SX like the 240 SX JDM nomenclature. This was a little 1.6 front-wheel drive, paid too much for it. It was it was my first car, right? I think there's not a lot of people that are really head over heels about the first car, but I loved it, honestly. It was cool to have like a standard too. Once I learned how to drive standard, I was totally about it. And so anyways, I got this car, and the day after I bought it, I was down at my friend's place, and they have a farm, and I decided, this is in my era of doing backflips off of things. And I was in their corn silo, and I decided I'm going to do a backflip in here. And luckily there was an auger in there. It wasn't on, but the corn was, a foot above the ground, so everything was covered. And, I kicked off my boots, decided to do a backflip out, landed on the auger. And like, as soon as I did, I just, wide-eyed and, what the hell was that? Jumped up out. And yeah, I ended up getting the end of the auger into my left foot, into the arch of it. Should have went to the hospital. I didn't. I recommend you do if something like that happens. Like, luckily tetanus shots and everything were all up to date. But, so needless to say, I was on crutches, and I remember like washing my car like on crutches, and like this car, it was black, it was full of scratches. I don't remember how high the mileage was, but I mean, it was up there. It wasn't anything special, but it was my first car. It was, a true love to just have that freedom of being able to, know what time I can be home at, but being able to just get behind the wheel, put on some music and just drive and just have fun driving, because the car is like the ultimate source of freedom. So yeah, like I remember washing my car like on crutches and stuff, but I had that, and I remember it was around that time like Fast and the Furious came out, and I didn't know what car culture was like at that time. I didn't know what it was like down like in the US, like in Japan. I wasn't as aware of that as I am nowadays. But I remember going to see that movie. I'm sorry, I didn't see the first one in theaters. I saw Too Fast, Too Furious. But I remember when the first one came out, I was actually down in Texas, and I was just in like a small country town. But there was just something about the impact that movie had in even this little country hick town. Honestly, I remember seeing this kid, I think his name was Brandon. He had, like an EJ Honda Civic, so like a two-door coupe. Pretty sure it was the black one, just like they had in Fast and the Furious. But in that movie, they had, the green underglow, and it was, part of the scene. And I remember really liking that car. And yeah, that was, again, it was around that time era. And once I realized kind of where the car scene was at and the impacts that a vehicle and what an owner does to the vehicle based on their interest, again, it's just it's a reflection of self. And I think once you find what you want to do with the car, guys that are going to save up for, that mod they really want, they have to have this one. Sometimes there are the sacrificial lower brands or, the reps. And some people will do that just to have that done sooner. And I've met some people over the years that will just, nope, like I'm going for the best, or I'm going for what I want. And I don't care if it takes me a year to save up for it. Like, that's what I'm going to do. And I immensely respect those people. At the end of the day, I think it doesn't matter which route you go. If a car brings you happiness, that is all that matters to me. If a guy has a Honda Civic with, a $3,000 spoiler on it, like, give her shit, man. Like, be happy about it, because at the end of the day, it should only be your happiness that matters about your car. And I think like nowadays, the whole social media thing and like just clout has really clouded people's visions of their builds. But again, I digress. So after, Fast and the Furious came out, and it was around that time I just started getting into like Forza and just racing games as a whole. And the amount of time that you can literally spend just being sucked into this thing and modifying it was definitely one of the things that really got my head into it. And there was also publications. I remember seeing DuPont Registry, and that was, a high-end magazine. It was also, I believe they were classifieds as well. I know in the back there were classifieds, but I think there were also like some articles of, maybe exotics or high-end cars. Excuse me. And I remember seeing DuPont registries, and I would buy some occasionally. I couldn't afford any of these cars, but I don't know. There was something about being able to see these and just read them and being informed and nerding out on these cars, like on the powertrain, the technology. There is always just something about the cars that really drew me in. And that was like DuPont again, was nothing really modified about it. There was also some other magazines such as like, Import Tuner. I remember 0 to 60 modified. 0 to 60, I don't think it was out for very long, but I remember that it was a cool magazine to me that kind of jumped out at me. And when I saw it, I was invested. I was, I would grab every episode that I saw, every magazine that I saw. I never subscribed to anything, but I did, I was always on a lookout whenever I went into the store. And, when I saw a magazine, I would grab it right away. So when I started to look more into the magazines, there were other things. There was actually this thing called cardmain.com, and it wasn't out for very long, but I remember again finding this guy's Skyline, and his name was Tim Bowles, and I believe he was in the military in the States somewhere. And the car was, in Japan, and this was probably not long after the car was new. I would probably say, early 2000s. So there's just been a lot of publications that really like played a part for me, and that was just in print. Enter the YouTube era. I guess another publication was Motor Trend, and they kind of hopped into the YouTube scene. I think they were probably the first ones that I saw on YouTube that were a consistent thing. But over the years, there's definitely been some that have come and gone. And so I want to say Motor Trend was kind of a big thing. They later on went to a subscription-based Motor Trend on demand. Also, Matt Farah with The Smoking Tire, and he did a lot of one takes, and they were like car reviews. So once I started to look at car reviews, and things just really interested me more. And I remember for a while, I wanted to be an automotive journalist because I thought, test driving cars would be like amazing. Whether that be like the person to, sign off on a car or be somebody who develops something. That was something that really seemed like an amazing job, honestly. Like, again, I love driving. I don't think I'm a performance driver. I do have my class 1, so I can drive tractor trailer and all that, and I'm confident in those abilities, but I've never been in like a performance scenario where, I've driven all these cars to the limit. Like, I'm not going to be, the next racer. But seeing these automotive journalists get behind the wheel of some of these, really high-end cars, and like not even supercars, but just like bespoke builds, super interesting. It was really cool to see them doing their thing, and like even the head-to-heads and stuff like that. So there was the Motor Trend on demand. And then once I started to look at car reviewers, I would say obviously like Matt Farah, The Smoking Tire, and I guess another big prominent one in more recent years was Throttle House, and they're Canadian, and Thomas and James. They're an amazing duo, honestly. And I guess kind of going back a little bit, I never dug into Top Gear. I had seen some stuff like around their track and whatnot, and that was really cool to see. But I never got into the Top Gear show. However, from that side of the pond, Chris Harris on Cars, I believe, was the one that reeled me in the most from an automotive journalist perspective, because fuck, can that guy drive? He can drift anything. And like it can be, I remember seeing the McLaren P1 video, and I think I was just as blown away with this video as he was with the car. Like, he was just, flabbergasted. And I remember just the thing that he kept saying was like, what a thing. And it was, yeah, I mean, to me, that guy is the embodiment of passion behind the wheel. I mean, there's so many people out there that are doing things like this, but you get Chris Harris behind the wheel of a car that he loves, and it's emotional, honestly. It's crazy. But that guy has continued to step through some different things over the years, and he is somebody that I will follow till the end of his career, because his work is insane. He's a phenomenal driver, and again, I think that he has kind of built a legacy behind him. And I don't think that he hasn't, I can't say he hasn't got the recognition that he deserves, because he's done well for himself over the years. But to me, that guy is just kind of up there. So yeah, with, I guess like the Smoking Tire and all those guys, it kind of inspired me to think about doing my own car reviews and stuff. It was short-lived. My ADHD went on to something else, as it does. But the thought of it was really cool. And I actually enjoy writing occasionally. Over the years, it's been more musical, not really for any publications, although I actually did do a bit of a blog on my first website. And I shot my friend Eric's, he had a S14, excuse me, with a Rocket Bunny kit on it with an LS engine. And it was a green car. He called it Green Dahlia. Excuse me. And it was so cool. I was not long into my photography journey. I want to say it was like 2017, 2018. I still have my old Canon 6D. And I just was super inspired again to try and write something, and to try and put something out there that was going to be, it was more just for me, honestly. I felt that I could do it, and I was happy, with like the shots of it. We ended up doing a video, and I used a song by Halcyon. His producing name is Sodium Vapor, and he put a song out, and he wanted guys to make a video for it, and I ended up doing that, and that's definitely my highest viewed video on YouTube. And it was a blast, honestly. But to me, those publications and those video documentaries and like series, maybe not so much documentary. To me, documentary seems like a kind of a long film, or maybe like a docu-series if you want to go with that. But those things have always really stood out to me, because it's the documentation. It shows the planning of the build, again, with the whole planning of the parts. Like, there's no sacrifices behind what they're going for. They knew their mission statement, and it's documenting that, and it is showing, the trials and tribulations that they go through. And it's really just a testament of sticking to the narrative and, seeing it through, because there are always going to be hurdles, and there's always going to be something that will set you back. But if your vision is there, and you've got everything in front of you, no sacrifice, no victory. Like, you've got to see it through to the end. And I guess in more recent years, just more car channels like Haggerty, the way that things have came for video editing and like special effects, CGI, etc. I don't know if they use CGI so much, but the way that they edit these videos is absolutely ridiculous in the best way. And when you've got presenters like Jason Camisa, who I think I've heard it somewhere else, but to me, he is like the car guy, Adam Sandler. Like, he's hilarious, but his knowledge and his understanding of cars and vehicles and just history is otherworldly, quite honestly. And he works with Randy Popes, who was, I think Randy was Motor Trend or Car and Driver, but he's, a racing driver that has all this pedigree, and the way that they blend on camera together is phenomenal. But my video envious mind and the cinematographer in me is really just super piqued by these things. Like, I see these videos and I'm blown away. Like, it's something that I would like to, or would have liked to have done, or even, some kind of racing documentary stuff I've kind of wanted to try and do, but haven't reached out to the right people to make that happen. So, and I guess looking back at some of my vehicle purchases, and there have been many, I had a pretty bad habit of getting into vehicles almost yearly, but it's kind of funny that looking back at the Fast and the Furious thing and the role that it played for me, and I actually ended up with a car that was just like the Civic. I bought a 94 Honda Civic Si with a Honda Prelude engine in it. It was an H22, and that thing was a blast. And it was, something that I saw and I knew that, like, I wanted it. Paid too much for it again, but the build that the guy had already put into it, I was really looking forward to owning that. And then, getting into mechanically understanding cars, and not just looking up to things as you hear them, and sure, they sound cool, but having gotten the knowledge and understanding of how things work and just different powertrains and whatnot. I had a couple turbo cars, and they were probably one of the biggest things that really kind of bumped the enthusiast in me. Just knowing that you could do so much with them. I think performance vehicles have always been probably one of my biggest sought after things in life, honestly. Maybe not through ownership, but just to be around them and in the presence of them. And again, to me, people that usually have those cars are passionate, and that's ultimately what really gravitates me towards cars and just anything with a vehicle, surrounding. I mean, again, four-wheelers, side-by-sides, not a lot of snowmobiles, but I mean, anything with an engine that can take you somewhere, it really kind of wets my whistle, so to speak. So yeah, I guess catching up to that point, I've been involved. A lot of my photography and video stuff has been automotive. If you follow me at all, on Instagram is kind of my biggest thing, at McMedia Visual Productions. It's been ever since I picked up a camera, honestly, a car has probably been one of the biggest subjects. And I love working with people as well, like brands, stuff like that. But it usually, I always seem to want to capture a car. Maybe it's just because so many other car creators have inspired me over the years, and I want to do more to, get to their work level. And again, they inspire me. There's a lot of them out there that do some phenomenal work. So, I've got into track photography. Motorsports as a whole has been very influential on what I choose to go towards. Again, with some drifting things, like I ended up at Formula Drift for the first event I've shot for Formula Drift last year, which was Irwindale. And it was actually the last Irwindale. So bittersweet, but definitely the best place to have my first event there with Formula Drift. Excuse me. The whole motorsport scene has definitely gotten into me. I actually owned a 2017 WRX, and when I bought that car, I don't recall what took me to it, but Subaru has a webisode series called Launch Control. And this was going back to, I want to say they started it in probably like 2012 or something. I probably should have pulled that up, honestly, but they have all these seasons documented. And once I got into a Subaru, like rally just into me. And I remember I actually went to an event with Northern Apex, who I was a part of, Cochrane Rally, and shot some photos. And I kind of referenced that in my photography podcast. And it was amazing. But there's just so many different things I want to do that I have to. It's hard for me to just pick one path, as I'm sure you've probably all picked up at this point. But anything motorsports has definitely been a highlight for me. I guess kind of wrapping up to the present point now. The big thing for me is probably like the Haggerty thing, Throttle House, a lot of things that come out on YouTube. YouTube has been my pretty much go-to for entertainment for the past few years. We have cable, and I don't even really watch anything on cable, honestly. I'll watch Netflix occasionally, but to me, YouTube and the content that car creators and people put out there, it's really what I enjoy doing and spending my time watching. So I guess, we're pretty much present point. So I'm going to leave it at that. I appreciate you guys for sticking around for my rambles. This was definitely an all over the map thing, but my timeline has been very sporadic. I moved around a lot growing up, so my points are, some of them are blurry. Gotta remember, I'm 40 now, so yeah, things aren't what they used to be. Not as good as I once was, but I'm better now than I ever was, so I'm going to keep going. Again, thank you guys for listening and devoting some of your time to me. Feel free to like and subscribe and follow along on your designated social medias. And hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.